Nutritionist. What in the world is a registered dietitian nutritionist? I'm sure you've heard a lot of individuals say that they are health professionals. So registered dietitian nutritionist is an individual that has a bachelor's of science degree, and they go through a lot of different federal programming. You have to be certified with the registry for dietitians. They take an exam. So we do things like we work in hospitals, we work in nursing homes, we assist individuals with individualized care. So when we talk about the Mediterranean diet, I want to make sure that you know that everything that I say is science-based. Things that I discuss today are things that we can speak about on a general basis, but everyone is an individual. Please speak with your doctor, please speak with your dietitian before making any major changes to your diet. But of course, have fun with food, right? So I have a background in nursing home care. I worked for a rehab center up near Milwaukee when I lived there, and I moved to Elkhorn about a year ago, right before COVID happened, so it's been kind of a blur. But I love the area. I love living here. We live in a rural environment, which is so nice. I'm sure you all can agree. Kind of a slower pace. So since I worked at the nursing home, a lot of the work that I've done and want to do in the community is centered around geriatrics. So although a lot of the things that I'll be discussing is related to the elderly population, these are all things and terms that can be used for all of us. And the research and science has shown that this specific diet, the Mediterranean diet, is helpful for the whole family. So hopefully that's something that can assist in any questions that you may have. This is an interactive class, so if you have any questions, just shout it out. We're a small group, so we can all be friends, right? So actually, I started cooking for library systems back in Milwaukee. So I've been doing a lot of cooking in libraries, really just because I love to get close to my community wherever I'm living. I want to make sure that I'm there and available to assist you in anything that you may need. So hopefully you guys can see me back at the library more frequently. This is my first time being here. I've been here in person, but not actually cooking. So, and I love libraries. If I wasn't a dietitian, I would 100% want to be a librarian. I'm actually getting married in April in the Matheson Library. So
nice.
It's just something that I grew up with. I love to read, I love learning, and I feel like the library is a great place for that. You can learn so many different things. So I'm sure I'm speaking to, preaching to the choir. So really, dietitians have a bad rap. We're always told that we're the food police, we're always trying to make sure that everyone is only eating certain things, and you have to eat celery, and you can't eat, Midwestern foods ever, and I just want to kind of remove that stigma completely. We're more so about what can we add to the diet rather than things that we can take away. So hopefully that will put your mind at ease. I think that is one of the big misnomers, and why it's important for dietitians to come out in the community, because we can show that those are things that we maybe are not exactly in congruency with what we are and who we are. So Mediterranean diet, have you all heard of this diet before? This way of life, way of eating? Is it something that you currently are trying to do, or that kind of thing? Okay, so Mediterranean diet, it really can be one of two things. One, Mediterranean diet, it's a place, right? Crete, Greece, southern Italy even could be considered Mediterranean. And the big separate part of that is a specific way of eating. It's not necessarily a strict regimented style diet where on Monday we only eat apples and drink black coffee. I don't know if you've heard of that, or cabbage soup diet. It's not exactly that kind of diet. Diet is kind of another one of those, dietitian is a food police, right? It's discussing what things you cannot eat and what things you can eat, when in actuality the Mediterranean diet is a way of life. It's when we choose specific foods to enhance our diet. and add food items into our life that enhance our life. So the Mediterranean diet, I have a picture here on your paper that you have. It's basically the food pyramid. You know, we as a country have gone away from the food pyramid, but I really like the way that it's set up. So I wanted to make sure that the visual that you had is similar to something that we all, you know, fairly grew up with and understand. So with the Mediterranean diet, you're gonna see on the very top, you have red meat and butter, white rice, white bread, white pasta, potatoes, soda, and sweets. So it says use sparingly. Are any of us going to say in the rest of our entire life that we're never going to have potatoes? Or we're never going to have a steak? What state do we live in, you know? And speaking of what state do we live in, dairy. Those are things that are at the top of the pyramid, and the reason behind those things is really related to how they inflame our body and how they can affect our overall health in regards to chronic disease. We also have fish, poultry, eggs, 0 to 2 times a day. Then we have nuts, legumes, 1 to 3 times a day. Legumes basically like beans. Vegetables in abundance, fruit 2 to 3 times a day. Whole grain foods at most meals. Plant oils, olive, canola, soy, corn, sunflower, peanut, and other vegetable oils. And on the very bottom, what does it say? Daily exercise and weight control. So of course, if your overall goal or objective is to lose weight, the only way, scientifically proven, the only way to lose weight is reduction of calorie intake. And this is where things get really confusing for individuals that say, hey, I'm eating a specific certain way, let's say keto, that's a real big one right now. Keto diet, I'm not losing any weight. I was told if I don't eat any bread, if I don't eat any sugar, that I'm going to lose weight. But if you're eating more calories than your body can burn, it's still going to be metabolized and utilized as fat storage. And if you think about it, that's actually a good thing when it comes to human beings in general. That's what we were meant to do. So if we remove the stigma and all the emotions that come to it and just realize that our bodies are beautiful and are able to do so many things, then we can remove all those emotions that come with food and the foods that we're eating and think of it as a joy. So with this food pyramid, what do you think the Midwestern food pyramid would look like? Basically, you just flip it. Yeah. Yep, you're right. Red meat. I mean, think about the populations that are from here. Polish, German, right? The majority of the cultures that that live here eat a lot of red meat and potatoes. And I don't want to sit here and vilify those things. It's more so about what could we add to our diet. So let's say, for example, when I worked at the nursing homes and the rehab center, everyone always wanted to have bacon and eggs for breakfast every day. Bacon and eggs. And I would sit there and be like, I also love bacon and eggs, but I don't know if I could eat it every day. So one of the things that we would maybe suggest to an individual that really enjoys bacon and eggs for breakfast is, how many eggs are you eating a day? How much bacon are you eating at breakfast? 4 strips, 5 strips, 2 strips even? And depending on that individual, we would make a plan. Maybe we will add 1 slice of whole wheat toast. Maybe we will remove 2 slices of bacon, but make sure you have some still. Maybe we take that egg and we think about it. Are you having 3 eggs, 4 eggs? And you can kind of play around with that a little bit. Add fruit. The big idea is add. And the more that you add those foods that are considered on the Mediterranean diet, maybe the less room you have for the things that aren't really doing your health much good. So another really big thought that I wanted to provide regarding the Mediterranean diet and Midwestern diet is really just the idea that perhaps there are food items that you enjoy and you like that you can tweak a little bit. and that's the big thing that I want to do today. I'm going to be tweaking a regular Greek pasta salad, and I'm going to be using my BFF barley. Do you guys eat barley on a regular basis? No. You know, I didn't either. And you would just think like maybe beef and barley soup. I would just kind of assume that would be like the one time that we would have it. And that's delicious. Beef and barley soup is awesome. Barley is amazing. Amazing. Even the quick cooking barley, it takes about 10 minutes to cook. Very easy. It's actually more healthful for you than brown rice. So the reason why it has more health benefits than brown rice is it has more fiber and it has more iron in it than brown rice. So of course, you know, when we hear about those things like, well, this is better for you than this, it just means that every bite that you're enjoying is just going to be giving you something different than what those things would be. Yes?
Is it gluten-free, you know?
No, barley is not gluten-free.
Or rice is.
Right, absolutely. So if an individual is gluten-free, perhaps they have celiac disease or something to that effect, I would suggest continuing with your brown rice. You know, orzo also, orzo is considered, it looks like rice, but it's made out of pasta. Originally, I wanted to make you an orzo pasta salad, and the reason why I wanted to make you orzo is because it is kind of fitting with the theme. But guess what? I don't live in Milwaukee anymore. Orzo is extremely hard to find. So I went to the local Piggly Wiggly, and there it was, barley on the shelf. They also have medium barley. I looked at the nutrition information, they're the same. So even though it's considered quick cooking, the nutrition is the same. So something to think about. So the reason why the Mediterranean diet is a diet that is quite helpful for you is because it is high in fiber. It's also high in monounsaturated fats. Monounsaturated fats are the fats that are going to be assisting your body. When we were all, you know, living in the 90s, right, fat was vilified, absolutely vilified. You know, do you guys remember those like cookies? I think they were called like, were they like snack rolls or something?
Yes.
Yeah, and they were like extremely low fat. And guess what? It's still junk food. They might taste good, but that kind of food really isn't going to be helping any of us. And in fact, our obesity rates and our chronic disease rates have only increased, especially spike since the 90s. So it's just something to think about, that perhaps if we incorporated more foods like this, it might be more helpful for us. The research behind the Mediterranean diet is extreme and super exciting, and I wish that I could just scream it, that more individuals could maybe enjoy and eat foods like this, because the research, they did like a 12-year study, and in the 12-year study, they took care of thousands of women, and with these women, they found that individuals on a Mediterranean diet were 25% less likely to have chronic disease issues, cancers, diabetes, high blood pressure, strokes, you know, all of these different things, even dementia, than their counterparts that weren't on that diet. So why do you think it might be more difficult for an individual to adopt this way of eating? Any thoughts about that?
It's more work.
More work, absolutely. And I'm so glad you said that. I swear I didn't plant her in here, because that is a perfect segue to the next thing that I wanted to discuss. I'm going to be making my own salad dressing, but who has time really to do that on a weeknight, or who wants to, you know? So I would recommend looking at your local grocery store and reading the ingredients. And you know, if you have a question about those ingredients, I would even just Google it, because I was looking at, you know, different salad dressings in the market, and yeah, this one's a little bit more pricey. At Piggly Wiggly, it was like $3.69, but it'll last you a long time if you follow the serving suggestions. But basically, this is olive oil, water, canola oil. Canola oil is also vilified, and for no good reason. It also is full of omega-3s. Omega-3s help with inflammation, and it also assists with preventing artery clogging and it can assist with your overall brain health. Red wine vinegar, here it is, spicy brown mustard. It's got water, mustard seed, salt, turmeric, onion, less than 2% sea salt, lemon juice, distilled vinegar, garlic, black pepper, and celery seed. So this is a really good kind of cheat. Barley takes 10 minutes, to cook, the quick barley. So I feel like will take you not a long time to do something like this. And you can find some cheats along the way. So before I get started actually cooking this dish, I wanted to let you know that I appreciate your time. I'm honored that you're here listening to me. So I want to make it a little bit fun. So I have some paper and some pencils here. If you want to just jot your name down, I'm going to be doing a couple of giveaways. So this is the first giveaway today. Also doing a giveaway on this quick cooking barley and whatever is left over from my garden. So why don't we go ahead and pass that out? And if you could just fold it a couple times, doesn't really matter. And then give me the basket back. That would be lovely. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think on the other side of your paper, you'll see the recipe. Got two recipes here, the Mediterranean-inspired barley salad and the homemade Greek salad dressing. So let's get started. All of this produce I washed earlier today, and my hands are clean, just so you know. So I always like to start a recipe by doing what we call mise en place. You guys heard that silly term, mise en place?
No.
It's French for basically getting all your ducks in a row. You're going to just be making sure that all of your produce is prepped. And although when you're first cooking, it feels like the silliest thing because it almost feels like you're taking your time getting everything done and prepped previous to actually cooking, but it will save you some time in the long run. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna prep the produce really quickly. Don't worry, I have a compost, so I put this in my compost pile. I wish I had some chickens. Do you guys have chickens? No? I always thought that would be so cool just to go outside and take care of them and they take care of you, that kind of thing. Are you guys all originally from here? No? Yeah? A couple? Who's the farthest transplant? Yell it out. Where are you originally? Illinois. Where in Illinois? Gurney. Okay, I've been there. That's where they have the mall, right?
No,
Okay.
when I grew up, it was corn.
Corn. I love it. So I'm actually going to be adding the produce to this barley. This is what the barley looks like when you cook it. It's the whole
So how
box.
much did you cook?
I cooked the entire box.
Okay, and you just add water to it?
Yep, it has instructions on the back also. It's really easy to use. So it just says number of 1 cup servings, and it tells you how to do it. You can even cook it and freeze it, which is great. That way you can just dump the entire box. And I even do it in what I would consider to be even a more foolproof way. I take it, my Dutch oven, or you can take a big sauce pot, fill it up with water, make it boil, add the barley, and then when your time is up and it's simmered for 10 minutes, just drain it. You can also add salt. I didn't add salt because I'm going to be adding salt now. So this is what it looks like. It looks a lot like a cereal from my childhood. I don't know if they still make it, that Smack cereal.
Right.
I'm curious. I'm actually unsure if it's the same. So I'm just going to be adding the vegetables to the barley, and also this would be a really fun thing to bring to a potluck, or if you're going to someone's home and they're asking you to bring something. It's economical. Barley is fairly inexpensive and quick. All right, so we're done with our cucumbers. And we'll add a full pepper. Do you guys like cooking or find it a drag?
I like it, but I don't have time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never can think what to make.
That's a huge, like, thing, a hurdle, right, to get through. But if you make something like this ahead of time on, you know, a Saturday or what have you, you could kind of snack on it, eat on it all week, really. And, you know, this, I'd say this dish is more of a side dish because it doesn't have enough protein for what I would consider to be a full meal. But you could add, you know, any kind of fish that you like. You could add chicken. I think turkey is very underrated. Turkey is a great poultry item, especially if you consider brining it in some herbs and spices and some lemon.
I always wondered why, if you go and get a turkey in the middle of the year, it's priced outrageous. Until Thanksgiving, it's like they make you wait.
Right.
to Thanksgiving. But then somebody was telling me it's because of the lifespan that they take longer to grow.
You know,
where
I
the
didn't know
chickens, they're
that.
making them now shorter, plumper, and you know what I mean, bigger, where they can get them out the door right away.
That makes sense, actually. I actually wondered that myself because I wish that I had like 3 deep freezers and then you could just buy them all,
Right.
you know, during that time.
I've always noticed the turkeys in the store are like injected. You know, the frozen
You're
turkeys
right.
are injected with
Yeah.
saline or
Right.
salt
Liquid,
solution.
yeah.
Do you guys have a good butcher around
The
here?
swords out there.
I love Swords.
Swords.
I was gonna mention Swords. I go there. Wilson's, I haven't tried them yet. Have you guys tried
I heard
Wilson's
they're good.
and Elkhorn?
I just went there, I was looking at hamburger, and I went there and, to the one in Walworth.
Yes.
I went to both, and the one in Walworth was, their prices were a little bit cheaper, and now that's Johnstown's Meats. They opened up one over here, they're on the way to Janesville, the back way,
Okay.
but they were real good. I used to take pigs out there and cows, you know.
Oh,
share
okay.
'em- and share them like with another family.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like going to the butcher too.
See, this is also very helpful for me because I'm still trying to learn, you know, everything that's available to us and in our community and who's around and available to use different ways. You know, also the Mediterranean diet is helpful because I don't know about you guys and I don't want to make this depressing, but have you seen the prices of meat lately?
Terrible.
It's scary.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like $18 a pound
Yeah.
or something. So I'm like, whoa.
Bacon is super expensive right
Yes.
now.
If you go, like when I was young, my mom used to send me for a roast for the whole family, you know, and there's like 7 of us. And it would be like $4 or $5 for a big chuck roast, thick, big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, not no more, it's not, it's like 15, 20.
Right,
Well,
right,
the price of beef to raise has gotten really expensive.
right,
Yeah.
I'm
right.
practically vegetarian, so I don't worry about meat too much.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't buy meat or,
Yeah, it all went crazy. I heard like wood.
Mm-hmm.
My son and his dad did roofs, and he said, "Mom, we were paying $7 for a sheet of plywood. It was up to just about $50."
Oh my
He
goodness.
said, "You know, how do you can't make your money anymore? It's like just outrageous."
right.
You're absolutely right about that. We were thinking about putting an addition on our home, and we're like, maybe we like being really close to each other. Like-
And the price of aluminum too is gone up.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So this is something, you know, you could kind of think about adding a couple more dishes, a couple more meals that are more vegetarian, plant-based focused. Even, you know, items that have some seafood, you can kind of make it stretch a little bit more. Adding protein in the form of eggs. Having a little bit of cottage cheese because dairy isn't, you know, completely out the window when it comes to this style of eating. In fact, I'm going to be adding some feta cheese. I just got the reduced fat one. You know, it's up to you and your preferences, I'd say. They're very similar to, sodium wise is the one that I usually am kind of concerned with when it comes to reduced fat items. But it really depends on what your concerns are and what your focuses are, of course. Let's see, so we added the tomato, we added the cucumber, we added the red onion, and we added the yellow pepper. Doesn't matter what color pepper. The yellow ones just happen to be 99 cents a pound at Piggly Wiggly. Thanks, Piggly Wiggly. So let's see, we're going to add some Kalamata olives. We're going to add some feta cheese, and then we're gonna make our Greek dressing, and we'll add parsley to end. So do you guys have any, questions so far? Is this interesting to you as far as like adding more foods to your diet? Did your doctor say, hey, maybe you should think about this? You don't have to shout it out if you're uncomfortable, but just, if you're willing to share, I'd love to hear it.
Cut the salt.
Cut the salt,
Yeah,
yes.
cut the salt.
Cut
And
the
I was
salt.
wondering how long that will last.
Yes, so usually a salad like this, fresh state, I would give it 3 days.
Okay.
If you wanted to, you could kind of cut your vegetables. Like, let's say that you wanted to eat this for lunch for a week. The most safe way to do it would be to freeze some of the barley and then cut your vegetables day of after that 3rd day. So that's a really good question, and also adds to the reason behind why dietitians are Serve Safe certified. So we really focus on safety, especially with the population that the majority of us talk to and discuss with, because that group is so more prone to infection, especially related to foodborne illnesses. So I'm just going to be adding some of these Kalamata olives. So I'm really glad that you mentioned the sodium. So do any of you watch TMJ4 or the news in general? So previous to the last couple of years, I did like a sodium challenge on TMJ4, and it was really fun because they had an induction burner, and I had never been on live television before, and I was 5 months pregnant, and right before they called, for 10, they're going 10, 9, 8, the soup I was making boiled over, and I thought I was going to faint. I was like, I can't do this. What made me decide that this was a great idea? I have no idea. Why do I do this to myself? And the best thing about that is I got a lot of questions and emails about sodium, and it's such an important and kind of confusing thing, because a lot of the foods that we eat and enjoy are packed with salt. So the biggest thought about sodium in general and enjoying, some salty foods, because Kalamata olives and feta are salty, right, is making your food from scratch. We're all like here at the library, right? I highly recommend Michael Pollan. Michael Pollan is a wonderful writer. He writes a book called Food Rules. It's kind of fun. That's my own personal opinion. It's really just talking about, you can eat whatever you want to eat, perhaps try to make it yourself. And that way you can reduce all of those extra things that have been, made for food to be palatable. There is a reason why Doritos taste so good. They put this crazy chemical in it that actually makes your mouth water. If you think about it that way, like, it's kind of cheating, right? You're like, yeah, Doritos are delicious, but why? It's because they're putting chemicals in the food that you're eating that make you go, man, I just need a couple more. Man, I just need a couple more. That's, what happens to me at least. So let's go ahead and add the feta. So I just chopped up the olives. I'm a home cook. I like to make my salads fairly, country-esque, right? I like larger chunks of things in my salad. If you're going to be making this for a potluck or something like that, you could make this really beautiful, where you're, making things all the same size, but that's just kind of not me. So the recipe says 1/3 of a cup. We're gonna eyeball it a little bit. All right, so we'll give this a quick stir. And then we'll add our dressing and top it with some parsley.
If you were to take it someplace, would you put the salad dressing on ahead of time or when you got there?
Sure, I actually would recommend making this salad the night before you're going somewhere, and then adding a little bit more dressing just before serving. Salads like this taste so delicious when all those flavors can soak in.
And it kind of soaks it up, doesn't it?
Exactly, right. Okay, so let's make the dressing. The recipe I gave you makes a lot of dressing, about a cup and a half of dressing. But it's perfectly good to sit in your fridge.
How long will that last?
Oh wow, let's see. I would say 3 months, maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, you really could keep it for a while. The only thing I'd be concerned about is, you know, the garlic. But if you think about food preservation, when you're preserving food, a lot of it is oil packed, and something like a salad dressing, it removes the ability for moisture to come in and wreak havoc on the other food items. So let's add, I'm just doing a half, maybe I'll do a whole, why not? So I added a half cup, so I'm gonna add another cup, just to follow let's be rule followers today. So ways to cut the salt, right? Herbs, lemon. How many of you guys heard that before? They're kind of annoying.
I always have fresh herbs growing up in my patio, so I just run out and pick them.
Do you have a favorite herb?
I like fresh basil.
Basil,
Oregano, parsley.
love it.
You ever hear of muggy kraut?
No, what's that?
Somebody gave me 2 plants, and I'm like in love with this plant. It grows like it's called something else. That's like its nickname, and I think it came from like Germany or somewhere. But it grows kind of like a celery, and you don't use the stalks, you use the leaves. But if you touch it and rub it, it smells just like vegetable soup.
How interesting.
It's unbelievable if you can get your hands
so
on
cool.
it. Yeah, and so it's like great for soup, salads. And
I
it's
love
real,
that.
Like, earthy.
Yeah, I'll
really
have
good.
to look for that.
Yeah.
I'm new
I
to
haven't found
gardening.
it anywhere.
Really?
I cannot find it. I've looked at different plant stores everywhere and I cannot find it.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, that'd be something on your list to check out.
Definitely. I love the garden that's here. I saw it earlier this summer. It's gorgeous. So
What's the plant's name?
Muggy kraut? That's what they call it, a muggy kraut.
muggy kraut. Sounds like it should be on
It grows-
Harry Potter.
If you put it out like in a yard, in a planter, it stays smaller. But if you put it out in the yard, mine got like this big and this high, and everybody who tried it is like, Tammy, next year can I have some of that? Can
I
you
love
break
it.
But if you break it, you know how you can divide like celery or different
Yes.
things? Yeah, it sometimes could kill the plant, so you gotta be like real careful if you pull like from the base off.
Oh wow. Okay,
But
that's
yeah,
so
it's-
interesting.
It's really, really good.
See the
all
things
day-
that you can learn, right?
Yep, all day you'll be doing this, all day.
Just like,
because it
wow, I
smells
smell
just
so
like
good.
vegetable
Just like
soup.
rub it on you like perfume, right? Is that just me? Oh, good.
Yeah.
So I added the olive oil, I added the red wine vinegar, I added 2 teaspoons of Dijon. At this time I would add garlic, but where's that garlic? Don't know, doesn't matter. These things happen, but that just means that, we're all gonna come home and we're not gonna have garlic breath, right? So I'm adding some fresh pepper. I wish I had some fresh oregano in my garden, but like I said, I'm fairly new to gardening, so unfortunately the only herb that worked out in my garden this year was tons and tons of parsley.
But
So,
if you just get pots and put in like out by your patio or something.
oh, that's a good
Like you
idea.
have a pot of oregano, pot of basil, or parsley and
Okay.
lavender.
I'll try that. Like maybe like a windowsill kind of garden. Okay. So I'm adding a little bit of salt. You can, decide to add this or not. It's absolutely up to you.
Do you think there's a difference between the less salt and the regular salt? Like,
Lower sodium one?
yeah, like I bought cause they told me to cut the salt, so I bought no salt, or it's like half salt.
It's also potassium.
But that's what I'm wondering, is there something worse they're putting in there when you do that? Are you better off to just go with the regular salt and just
Yeah.
use sparingly than to get into the others?
The best way to remove sodium in the diet is to reduce the amount of processed foods in the diet.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
if we add a little bit of salt on our food, that's really not where the majority of the sodium in our diet is coming from. So my suggestion for you is to be very mindful of the amount of sodium that you're eating in a day on a regular day. So if you look at a nutrition label, it talks about all these different things, it can be a little confusing. But when you look at sodium and if you really look at the percent, that's really gonna help you. So if you see something that says 20% of your dietary intake for the day, that's really what it means, percent for the day, then you might be like, is this really worth it? Especially if it's something like a bag of chips. You know what? A bag of chips sometimes just hits the spot, right?
Right.
Right? But is it every day? Is it multiple times a day? How about that diet soda habit? Have you ever looked at the sodium in a can of Diet Coke? Doesn't mean you should never have Diet Coke ever again, but maybe just be mindful. Think about the things that you're choosing and choose for yourself. That's really what it comes down to. We're all responsible for our own selves and what our choices are, and shouldn't be vilified for it either way. So we've got the salt, we got the pepper, we got the oregano. The last thing that I want to add is some lemon. I'm going to microplane the zest because the zest really adds a flavor punch. But this is not necessary. If you don't have one of these microplanes, you could use a vegetable peeler. Just try not to get a lot of that white in it. That white is fairly bitter.
Those are great.
I love it.
Yeah.
But you know what? Not necessary.
Makes it easier.
Yeah. Adding this peel, not necessary. I like to give mine a little, sometimes cooking helps me with my aggression too. Fairly angry person, no, I'm just kidding. Okay. So I'm gonna take my trusty grandmother's juicer. Do you guys have any form of juicer at home? Like one of those, like kind of open, kind of like this. This is my garlic press for that garlic that went missing. So that's a really good one. Another fairly safe way to do it if you don't have those things, once you cut it in half, you can take a fork and kind of very gently ream it. I like these because it helps with the seeds, but it's also a really good way to get your aggression out. My fiance always knows if she's got the juicer out, I should maybe go mow the lawn.
I like hand tool,
Yeah, that's yeah. It's a good way to do it. You can add as much lemon as you like. Let's see. This was a very seedy lemon, of course. Who would want to be, right? Promise not to give you any seeds. That's a lot of juice, huh? Great trick to get the amount of juice that you want out of your lemon. You can microwave it for about 5 seconds. Microwave it any longer than that, you might have a lemon explosion. But that's also a really good way to clean your microwave. Don't ask me how I know that. You could also roll it like you would be rolling a pie dough. That's another good way to do it. Okay, so put on the lid. The Dijon is really helpful in this kind of dressing because it's an emulsifying agent. Basically, an emulsifying agent is making sure that that vinegar and that oil is liking each other. Otherwise, it's basically the friend in the middle holding hands to the other friend saying, oh, you guys like each other, you just don't know it yet. So this is basically what it looks like. Fairly simple. And you can absolutely do this to taste. You could wait to add the dressing. You could ladle it by tablespoon if that's something that you feel more comfortable with. I put the nutrition facts on the bottom also, if that's helpful for you. Keep in mind that the dressing is already calculated into the barley salad. So when you're looking at that, it's not an additional amount of sodium or calories or fat. You know, this is beautiful enough as it is. It's kind of like a rainbow salad, but parsley really helps just add a little bit of brightness, not only in color, but also in flavor and taste. So,
It smells really good.
good,
We can
it's so
smell it back
good.
here.
Could you put celery in there too?
I didn't put celery in there, but you absolutely could. And you know what? I think that would be delicious. And in fact, one thing that I love to do with celery is use the leaves.
Mm-hmm.
I love using celery leaves in chicken noodle soup. And it's also super delicious in salads. It's very tender. That is a great idea. So what I'm doing, just to make this easier on myself, I'm kind of rolling it. That kind of helps make it tight, pack it all together. You guys ever have that issue where you're cutting onions and you start crying? It happened to you a lot? Sometimes I think, I don't want to cook because I don't want to cry. Or sometimes you can, chop onions because you're like, oh, I'm not crying. It's just the onions. No problem. But really, the biggest way to solve that issue, if you have that issue with frying with onions, making sure that your knife is really sharp and cutting as fast as you safely can. You're just going to be trying to remove the time that those gases are hitting you in the face. It also helps if you have to wear glasses.
If you do it under cold water, it will stop it too.
I love it.
And also, if you don't cut off the bottom, will help too. It won't be as bad by not cutting off the bottom. And another thing I learned was, if you take a knife, your knife you're cutting with when you're done, and run it on your hand under cold water and take the knife and go like this, it will get the smell off your hands.
Oh, I love
Because you know how
that.
you wash them and you can't get the onion off?
Yes.
But if you take the metal knife and take this, not the sharp side, the other side, and I can literally tell where I missed, like what finger I missed it on.
Oh,
And
because
like
you
doing
can smell,
here,
yeah.
and you don't even gotta wash them, you just do them under there and you'll be like, wow.
That's
I don't
great.
like the smell of onions.
Yeah, they even have like one of those, it looks like a bar of soap, but it's just made out of metal. And you can use it just like you're using soap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this is our finished salad. Kind of get a close up here for you guys. Fairly simple. Hopefully you guys think that that's something that you could do fairly easily. And I think it's time to taste. What do you guys think? Are you ready?
So we just do that paper.
So what you do is you write your name on the paper, and then you add it to this basket, and then I'll randomly pull your name out and then gift you with what have you. I'll probably just put it like, first person would be, where did I put my, the dressing right here. Aha. Dressing. barley. And then let's see. Oh yes, my gardening. I'm up to my ears in tomatoes and cucumbers, so thought I'd share the abundance, right? Okay, so let's taste. If you guys want to kind of come up here, that might be a good way to do it. And help yourself. There's plenty. And last giveaway takes the salad home. So hey, how about that's the grand prize, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you do a lot of salads?
I do personally, just because of the things that I really enjoy eating. My family isn't so keen on kale salads. That can be really difficult. But if I make something like this and kind of add the vegetables in it, you know, barley is a big hit in our home, especially in the last year and a half or so. My fiance and my 5-year-old daughter are both huge carb heads. They love carbs. And you know, granted I do also, but when they want pasta and rice every day, it'd be nice to kind of switch that up a little bit and try to make it so that not only are they happy, but I'm happy also. I don't know about you guys, but when you're cooking for other individuals, it can really skew the way that you eat. And so I say, let's try to figure out a way for us all to be happy. So yes, if you are interested in a sample, I would love to give you some. And you know, don't all rush up here at once, right? Who's hungry?
I'll give it
It does smell good.
It does. I could smell it back
I
there.
know. I could smell that lemon. I'm like, oh, that's
Right?
The cucumbers, right when she cut them.
Okay, let's see. So we've got some napkins. I got some small plates here. I got some forks here, so you can grab what you like, and then I'll kind of dish you out some. And you can tell me if you want more, if you want less, what you're up to today. Okay.
perfect. Thank you.
You are so welcome.
You're right, parsley will make a difference in the way it looks.
Kind of makes it pop, right?
Yeah, it
You're
does.
welcome. You're welcome.
No problem.
Here you are.
See how much salt.
I would never think to use barley like this.
I don't. I use rice a lot, but not brown rice.
I heard there's a black rice too, that's
Oh,
supposed
yeah,
to
I've heard
be
that,
even
yeah, I've
better,
heard
yeah.
I'm allergic to onions, so I can't.
Okay.
And I'm allergic to barley.
Oh, no.
Gluten problem, so.
Yeah, well, my kids are celiac.
Sure. Brown rice would be perfect in
Yeah.
this dish. Even doing a mix. If you have some family members or you know, don't really enjoy brown rice as much, you could do half brown rice, you could do half white rice. I also am enjoying the chickpea pasta lately, the banza.
Yeah, banza, yeah.
That would be perfect in a dish like this. And talk about, you know, getting some additional fiber. Quinoa, oh yeah. I love quinoa.
Skip the parsley, add mint instead.
That would be awesome. That would be so good. You know, I really like making this quinoa dish that has a little bit of like cumin and cinnamon. It has garbanzo beans, almonds. You could use pine nuts, but I don't have the scratch for pine nuts. It's crazy expensive. And then let's see, some raisins, like rehydrated raisins.
That sounds almost like Indian.
Yes, it's very similar. It's good hot, it's good cold.
Yum.
Talk about another really easy one to freeze too, because it doesn't have that fresh veg in there. It will freeze beautifully. What are you guys thinking with your tasting here?
Delicious.
Very
Do
good.
you like it?
Fresh.
Good.
Delicious.
Do you think that this is something that you could make at home,
Yes.
or a version of it?
Yeah.
Okay. So this whole dish has about a half teaspoon of sodium for the entire bowl. Of course, you could add a little bit of salt depending on what you feel comfortable with. But I'm hoping that the feta and the Kalamata olives help a little bit with that.
Yeah, You're right. I think if you cut the feta, cause like me, I right away wanna put salt on this. A lot of salt.
It's almost
But-
like a habit,
I
right?
like to put
Right.
pepper on. I like to put
Pepper?
pepper on.
I like pepper too.
Yeah.
But I think if you cut the feta small,
Yes.
so it was throughout the whole thing,
Love
when
it.
you get it, then you wouldn't need to put the salt on at
Right.
all. 'Cause
That's a
you're-
great idea.
You're right, the feta has a lot of salt to it, taste.
Right.
You know, yeah, it's
Right.
very, very good.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
And my husband would say, "Where's the meat?"
Yes.
But you could, cut
Salmon.
chicken, salmon, or
Yes.
you know.
I love that. You know, I think I agree with your husband. I think it's also like where we live. You know, we're so used
Where's the
to
meat?
having,
Mhm.
you know, I like my plate to look like I got my meat, I got my starch, I got my vegetable. Maybe sometimes I'll have my glass of milk on the side, and then I feel like a true American in an instant. But you know, it's those changing of those thoughts. But even adding, like, if your husband likes shrimp, that would be really good.
Tuna, could you put tuna in there?
Tuna, I love that idea. That's great. An oil packed tuna, even, you could do something like that and just kind of cut back a little bit on the dressing. Maybe add a little bit more lemon, dill. That would be really good. Yeah, lovely. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that you guys like it, and that it's something that maybe you could try. So another, thought is thinking about some foods that you make a lot at home. So can someone tell me something that, is their go-to? Something that maybe they really, really enjoy making or having at home, but maybe you would like to add a healthy spin to it.
Spaghetti with Italian sauce.
Spaghetti with Italian sauce. Yeah,
Italian sausage.
Italian sausage. Awesome. So I'm actually marrying an Italian, and and I've never exactly been told so much about my cooking until I met this individual, and he's really put me through the ringer when it comes to food, because food is such a huge cultural thing for him and the things that he likes. So some things that have worked when it comes to making a Mediterranean spin on spaghetti and Italian sausage, I would suggest doing the pasta that has a little bit more fiber in it. So they have like a whole grain spaghetti that you could use. If you want to kind of start cutting back a little bit and making it mostly, quote unquote, the usual normal traditional way, you could do white, regular spaghetti, and then adding in just a tiny bit of the whole grain or whole wheat noodles. Seeing how far you can stretch it, that's a really good way to do it. I'm not really the kind of person that enjoys things like zoodles, but some people do. And absolutely that's up to whomever is cooking the dish. But that is another way that you could change it. I don't know if you guys shop sometimes at Aldi. Very recently I got a chicken Italian sausage from Aldi that was very good. It's not necessarily ground, which would make it a little bit strange, but you could kind of consider it, you could chop it yourself even. It has a lot of that really good flavor, especially that fennel that you'd be looking for in an Italian sausage. And I think it's made with just a little bit of chicken, like the dark meat. So it feels more savory, unctuous, delicious in that way. Also, I would like to mention, if spaghetti and meat sauce or Italian sausage is something that's a really big hit in your home, perhaps you don't mess with the recipe. Perhaps you enjoy that recipe, you're mindful with that recipe, you're having what you would consider to be a portion. Usually a portion of spaghetti is about a cup. Spaghetti with the sauce, about a cup of that item. And then, making changes in other ways. So hopefully that kind of helps spin the wheel a little bit about things that you could do at home. I don't know about you guys, we're a big football family. I'm not gonna say who we vote, go for, but because I might get run out of here. But that's a really big deal in our house. So we make sure that if we're gonna have some snacks, that we're gonna have hummus, we're gonna have some veggies, but we're also going to have some carby things too. We're gonna have like maybe some pita chips, maybe some potato chips, and maybe some salsa, some fresh salsa. Come on, you can't beat that. So I want to encourage you to not only enjoy the foods that you're making, but try to find ways that, especially when you're so busy, because I hear that, I heard that one with my whole heart. When you're living a very busy life, and we all really are in this society, finding ways to help yourself be the best version of who you are. So, say for example, you know that on Saturday evenings you really like watching this very specific TV show. All right, cool. I know that the hour before I watch that TV show, I'm gonna meal prep 3 things before I watch it. Finding different ways that can kind of help you through the day and the things that you're enjoying. So, like I said, I'm so honored that you had me come and speak to you. I cannot wait to come back and learn more from you. You taught me a lot today. I really appreciate your time. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and do the giveaway. So let's start from here over. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.